Talk about idea generation. It's something, because I know that in the room there are some experienced people and there are some people who are very new to making games and things like that. We all hit walls, we all have that kind of creative block sometimes, and I thought I'd just go over some ideas, some techniques that will hopefully help people maybe kind of shake something loose, come up with a game idea. First of all, who am I? My name's Lee. I went to UCLan, graduated in 2008 in game design. I've gone on to work in various different studios, Sony, Codemasters, Rare, Fish in a Bottle. So I've seen like kind of the big AAA kind of production development pipelines, how that works, and kind of methods involved in that, as well as like a small kind of India studio, Fish which was making kind of web and mobile-based games. So I've seen like kind of all the different scales and stuff. Worked on a variety of different projects for adults, for kids, and things like that. So what I do now is I'm a lecturer at a college in Southport, and I kind of pass that information on to my students. This is the kind of key thing I say to everyone when you're starting. Before you begin, coming up with game ideas or anything, who are you making the game for? You need to kind of make sure you understand that. Are you doing it for yourself? Are you just doing it, like, are only you going to play it, maybe your close friends and family? Or are you doing it for a client? Are you doing it for somebody else? The process that you'll go through, the kind of the game you'll make will be very different depending on who your target is. What's your aim of this game? Is it to learn about game development? Are you just making something to kind of learn some new mechanics and stuff like that? Are you hoping to make money on this? Or are you just doing it for a laugh, for your own personal enjoyment? Again, when you're doing your idea generation, these are the kind of things. So outline on paper your goals, intents, and work outwards from there. Idea generation is also known as ideation. It's the creative process of generating, developing and communicating new ideas, where an idea is understood as a basic element of thought that can be visual, concrete, or abstract. It comprises of all stages of the thought cycle: innovation, development, actualization, and as such it's an essential part of the design process, both in education and practice. Now, it's argued that there's only kind of 5 methods of innovation. If you've come up with an idea, it's probably fallen into one of these categories. So anything that you've come up with in the past and things like that, well, my advice is to kind of try out a few of these. Some people are more kind of lean on 1 or 2, and they rely on them. If that's the case, try coming out of your comfort zone, try doing some of the other methods. Targeted innovation, probably the easiest one. It deals with a direct path of discovery. It's often accompanied by intensive research in order to have a distinct and almost expected resolution. So what I mean by that is, if you're making a game for a particular market, you know exactly your market. Teenagers, young toddlers, anything like that, adults. If you know what your market is, you'll do some intensive research. What kind of things are trending at the minute? What's working, what's not, what games are already existing out there. So by definition, because you've looked at what's already out there and you're kind of doing the research, your idea is almost going to have an expected outcome. It's going to fit into that kind of pigeonhole. The next one is derivative idea. We were talking about this earlier. This involves just taking something that already exists and changing it to suit your needs. E.g. Flappy Bird style games with loads of different variations of that, Flappy Fish, Flappy Dog, all that kind of stuff. Now, while that's a little bit of a dark side kind of approach to design, where you're taking somebody else's ideas and just modifying it to suit your own needs, it is still a way of coming up with ideas, and it is a way that some people do come up with games, so don't discount it. Artistic innovation. Not everyone in the room is probably blessed with the ability to draw, to 3D model, to texture and things like that. Creative individuals are very necessary when coming up with ideas and kind of breaking the molds. Inviting artists to intervene in organisations, businesses, public institutions, stuff like that, is one of the most direct ways of stimulating innovative thinking and experimentation. Working with artists can help organisations reassess themselves with new eyes and question what they do, how they do it, why they do it. A particular competence of artists is in grappling productively with the uncertainty that is at the heart of innovation. So what I mean by that is, there are certain kind of types of people, maybe sometimes higher up in management and things like that, who don't like the unknown. They would look at a blank canvas, like the sheet over there, and they'd want to know what's going to come out of that. Whereas an artist would look at a lump of clay, a blank canvas, and they experiment, they try new stuff, and they're not afraid of kind of trying that kind of stuff, and that can be a real advantage to somebody who maybe isn't that kind of mindset. I have a friend who's a lecturer at UCLan. He's very good at like computer science and that kind of stuff, but when it comes to idea generation, when I've sat there telling him various different ideas, he just looks at me like in wonder, like, how do you come up with something like that, as if he never would have thought of anything like that at all. Artists are skilled in engaging people's creativity. They can disrupt the established routines, mindsets, and management processes, opening space for fresh ways of thinking and acting. For those of you who've been into a game studio and things like that, you'll often find that around their desk, there's loads of different items and stuff like that to kind of boost that creative thinking. For example, in one of the studios we worked on a dinosaur game, and so all the kind of desks have dinosaur models and things like that around there. Also, you'll find that you'll get mood boards and references, art pictures and stuff like that, all plastered around your monitor and things like that. All of that helps with your creative stimulation, your idea generation. So one of the things I'd recommend maybe you do is, when you go home, look at your workspace, look at where you're thinking of, where you sit down and do most of your work. What could you do to kind of freshen that up a bit? Put some random new objects around your desk, some different kind of things. Subconsciously, it might start affecting some of your ideas. Plaster some pictures and print some stuff out and just put it on a wall or around your desk. Symbiotic idea is a method of idea creation when multiple ideas are combined using different elements. So the most obvious one is multiple ideas are pooled through a brainstorming session, using various elements of each to make a whole revolutionary idea and creating something completely new. So you sit down with a group of people, you bounce ideas off each other, and everyone has their own thoughts, opinions, ideas, everyone's got different experiences in life, and from that they all kind of pitch in, and what you get taken away from that is something that you never would have come up with on your own. I guarantee it. So it's always worth doing that. In one of the studios I worked at, we had a room that had whiteboard walls, and everybody in the studio came and sat in, no matter what their role, it didn't matter that they were artists or anything like that, or designers, everyone came in and we sat down in the room and we talked we were going through a pitch that we were going to do, and we needed some ideas, and nothing was discounted. If you had an idea, it went up on the wall, and at the end of it, you take pictures or a video of the wall, and then you go away, and you'll be amazed at how much gold comes away from something like that. So I highly recommend it. I have got a video link here. It's about 5 minutes long. I don't really want to kind of bore everyone too much with this. You'll find that I've put on the discs at the back in that thing there. This presentation is already on there. So if people want to go away, click on that link and have a look at it. I highly recommend it. Just in summary, it's the webisode about how they created General Grievous for Episode 3 in Star Wars. It starts at the beginning with a team of artists, character artists, sat around the table. They're all spitballing ideas, and they say what kind of things are scary. What makes you think of something scary? Because they're coming up with a bad guy, obviously. What's scary? Somebody said kind of like no eyes, like an alien, like a face. Somebody else said insects, like mandibles. Somebody else said death, the fear of death and things like that. These were all different people suggesting different ideas. When you see the process that they went through and the final product of General Grievous, you can see them initial ideas in it. Like, he has a skull-like face. He is, it's a mask with just eyes. It's very insect-like as well, with like kind of mandibles, and he's got 4 arms, kind of like insecty. And so the person that came up with that final design wasn't one of the ones that said any of them 3 things at the beginning. So it goes to show that if it weren't for them others in the room coming up with that idea, would he have been influenced and come up with a character that's iconic in the Star Wars movies now? This is another kind of way of coming up with something. You can't really plan for this, but you can kind of put yourself in situations where it's more likely to happen. So serendipitous discovery. They're solutions which have been coincidentally developed without the intention of the inventor. Steve Jobs was a great believer in serendipity. He actually kind of established central toilets in the Pixar, in the kind of Disney Pixar studio. He wanted centralized toilets in the building. That way, anybody from any department and part of the building had to go to this central location. That gave people an opportunity to maybe overhear something that they wouldn't normally hear, meet somebody, talk to somebody that they wouldn't normally do. So events like this, where people are all coming and gathering together, this is great for this kind of stuff. You know, maybe come and brainstorm some of your ideas, bounce some stuff off other people in the room. You never know what, somebody might just make an off-the-cuff comment that you think, oh, that's not bad, that should be brilliant, and you've accidentally come up with a solution to your problem. Many forms of media that you enjoy every day is probably due to some happy accident, you just didn't realise it. For instance, most of the tension in Jaws can be credited to the fact that the fake shark they were using was a mechanical nightmare, and it was too ridiculous to show on screen. So it's only because of the that it's as tense as it is. You wouldn't think games would be subject to this because a mistake in the code could likely just crash your game or console rather than invent some fun new mechanic. But some of the most iconic features of games can be credited to serendipity. Minecraft Creeper, kind of a famous one. Accident, proportions. When he was trying to create the pig, it stretched wrong, and it's now become one of the kind of main enemies in the game. Next is Grand Theft Auto. Long before the Grand Theft Auto series became the gold standard in video game simulations, Rockstar Games, back then known as DMA, was working on a racing game called Race and Chase. The idea was to produce a fun, addictive and fast multiplayer car racing and crashing game, which sounds like it could be Mario Kart until you see what it looked like. I think we can all agree if ever there was a game that needed a bit more kind of oomph to it, it's that. It's looking a bit bland there. So, during its testing phase, the play testers felt the game sucked. I think that's what they've been quoted saying, except for one glitch. The glitch changed everything about the future of the game series. The police in the game would go insanely aggressive for no reason. Instead of politely pulling you over, the cops would ram you off the road. Why? Their AI was accidentally trying to drive through the player. So suddenly everyone was crashing non-stop. The testers found this hilarious, and it was the most fun part of the game. And so the designers decided to not only leave the psychotic cops in there, but build the entire game around that kind of ridiculously violent car chase caused by the glitch. The game was eventually completely overhauled to create Grand Theft Auto. By the time Grand Theft Auto 3 came around a few years later, the series was one of the most influential ever. It would go on to revolutionise open world gameplay that seemingly now half the games on the market try to emulate. But at its heart, it's still about the joy of abandoning the objective and just messing around. And this is all because nobody knew how to properly program a video game policeman. So, just to kind of recap on all that, so you've got derivative ideas. This involves taking something that already exists and changing it. A symbiotic idea, where multiple ideas are combined using different elements of each. Artistic innovation, that's stimulating ideas through artistic and creative approaches. Targeted, where you look through research and do some discovery. And serendipitous is where it's accidental and coincidentally kind of developed. Some other kind of good advice I can give you is go to Asda, get yourself one of the whiteboards that they sell there. It's less than a tenner, and you can do kind of spider diagrams and kind of quick little write notes and wipe them off and things like that. Really useful for when you're sitting down and doing a brainstorming session with people. Just give yourself some dry board markers and just start doing some spider diagrams and things like that. Really useful for kind of brainstorming as well. Thank you very much for listening. I hope it helps people be more creative. I thought it might be fun to kind of, why not have a bit of a challenge like I have with everyone in the room. Go away and have a better think of this. Try some of the techniques listed and come up with an idea to show and discuss people next meetup. Maybe you could all stick to a theme and see what we all come up with. I kind of went with something quite simple to start. The game theme is like dodge, so something that doesn't involve combat. No, it doesn't need collision or anything like that. I'm thinking in terms of like Frogger, something like that, where the idea was to avoid the cars and kind of get to the other side. Something along that kind of line where there isn't really any violence or combat. And the controls just being one button, something easy that you could use for a mobile, just like tap or press and hold, something like that, or press and tap faster, whatever kind of things are. So feel free to have a look, go at that, and we could all compare notes next time we meet. Thank you very much.